This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 141 of Horsemanship Radio, brought to you by Omega Fields, the world's best omega-3 supplements for horses. Horsemanship Radio is a part of the family of the Horse Radio Network, and today we welcome the Timid rider. You're going to love this blogger who wrote the book called Girl Forward. And then we get to go round the world in one conversation with the advanced course students at the International Learning Center. This is Debbie Laux, and you're listening to the Horsemanship Radio. Thanks for joining us. Horsemanship Radio airs on the 1st and the 15th of the month, and I have my producer, Jen, with me today. Jen, do you have vacation brain yet?
I do.
I'm glad you're honest.
I do. As we record this episode segue, we are preparing to go on Glenn and I's bucket list vacation to the UK. For the both of us, it will be our first time off the North American continent.
Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah.
I haven't asked you anything about this. So yeah. I know you're going to England, correct?
That's right. We're going to fly over and we're going on vacation with some friends. We're going to go and do London.
Yeah.
And then we're going to skip across and take the train north and do Edinburgh.
Oh, good. That's cool.
So
That's cool.
excited.
You'll love that. Yeah, it's a beautiful area too. And how long do you get to get away?
We're going to be gone for about 10 days.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
The entire trip was predicated upon getting tickets to go see the Royal Tattoo.
And what is the Royal Tattoo?
Well, anybody who's ever gone to YouTube and Googled bagpipes has probably seen video of the Royal Tattoo. That's where the dramatic, beautiful bagpipe bands are playing on what looks like a soccer pitch at the base of a castle.
Wow.
It's actually
dramatic.
It is. It's an annual thing for the Queen, of course, because it's the Royal Tattoo. And I guess it's her official band. Anybody from Europe who's listening to this, I have all the terms wrong, but I'm an American, I'm a tourist, you can forgive me.
Yeah. Official might not be the word. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, official might be the word. But it's her band. It's her guard. And they do this thing. And in American terms, it's like watching a marching band at a football stadium. That's the scene, except it's a bagpipe band. And it's at the base of Edinburgh Castle at night.
Oh, how beautiful.
Yeah. And Glenn and I have wanted to do this our entire lives. And for some reason, last year, we finally said, it's not going to get any easier. Let's just go do it.
Yeah, exactly. You got to do it while you're young, kids.
Got to do it while we're young, kids. There we go.
Now, be honest here. And this is a totally, I don't know which way you're going to answer this or not. But do you go there? Are you going to see this Royal Tat because the Edinburgh Castle and the night and the beauty and the splendor and just what an opportunity? Or do you really love the music?
Both.
Oh. Wow.
Both.
I really thought it would be one or the other.
Many years ago, Glenn and I attended a bagpipe and Scottish dancing competition, a Highland Games in Fair Hill, Maryland.
Now, does attend mean participated or?
Attend as spectators.
Okay. Just didn't want to picture that.
Yeah. And it was held at the Fair Hill Racecourse in Fair Hill, Maryland, which is a turf course out in the beautiful countryside in Maryland. And part of the competition, the bands all get together, and there's an official name for it, which I'm not remembering. I think they call it the Mass, now that I'm thinking about it. But all of the bands, and there were probably between 200 and 300 bagpipe players and drummers, and they start, if you can imagine a race course with a long, the long stretch that comes in front of the grandstands. They start at about 1.5 miles, 2 miles away. And they come up over the hill all playing at the same time, marching, which you can imagine the sound. And that we were smitten. And ever since then, we've both loved going and watching bagpipe bands and bagpipe competitions and things like that. And for us, at least, this is kind of the ultimate in that.
Yeah. This is your Mecca. So, and how many years ago was that?
25.
Oh, guys, it's time.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have been patient. It's time.
We've been patient. And then we're gonna go, of course, try to sneak in some little horse things here and there.
Good. Well, we can't wait to hear about it when you get back.
Yay.
It sounds really
so
fun.
excited.
Yeah, that pond trip. Yeah, you don't have to go in the Mayflower. See, they have airplanes for these things now. It's great.
Getting on an airplane, going for a long flight. Yep.
Yeah, that's great. You guys have fun. You have fun. Well, before you go, I am so glad you still have your brain in today, because we do have some fun guests coming up. And, I know we usually do 2 segments of interviews here, but we managed to stuff several in the second interview. So you really get a treat today, because you get voices from around the world, and they're all horse lovers, and they all have different goals to go back into the world. And I think you're going to be proud of them.
I love it when you do these round tables with the students and participants at the Flag is Up Farms, the various educational opportunities there, because the horse community is so very segmented and very different in different parts of the country, different parts of the world. But when you guys have these global conversations with the students and participants, they have so much in common. Mm-hmm. It's so blatant, and so it's like, hello, we're all working towards the same goal here.
Yeah. And the group has so much fun getting to know each other that way too. I think they have that same revelation too that you just had, is like, oh gosh, they all do think alike. And it doesn't matter if it's polo in India or if it's a German girl going up through the ranks in dressage. They come because there's a common belief and goal. Yeah. That they have to go take back out into the world. And I have to say, most are very young, meaning under 30, but not always. Under 40 is more and more common. And that means that there's a lot of growth and a lot of opportunity into the future of the horse world right now too. And that is to me, that's what gives me the chills when I'm able to sit in the circle with this group. So I can't wait to share them with you.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you wear cowboy boots, field boots, or no boots at all, as in the case of some riders in Mongolia, all working towards the same goal. So our first guest today, Heather Wallace, is going to tell us a little bit about her Mongolian adventures, and we're going to hear about those right after this from Omega Fields.
Hi, Joe Camp here to share about Omega Fields. Omega Fields exists to help you keep your first promise to the horses you love, to care for them well. Nutrition is the foundation of a healthy life and supports all the activity that brings you and your horse so much joy. Omega-3s from flax are the cornerstone of that foundation. So, coupled with the finest ingredients in their proprietary Pure Glean flax stabilization process, they created Omega Horse Complete, Omega Nibblers, low sugar and starch, Omega Antioxidant, and Proventum Probiotic soft treats. Thousands of horses are experiencing a vibrant life with the help of Omega Fields products, including all of ours, a part of helping you keep your promise to your friends. Nutrition for a healthy life isn't just their slogan, it's their purpose.
Heather Wallace is the writer and photographer for the award-winning blog, The Timid Rider, which focuses on the struggling confidence of a returning adult equestrian. She's the best-selling author of Confessions of a Timid Rider, which detail her insights about being an anxiety-ridden but passionate equestrian. And Girl Forward is the tale of one woman's unlikely adventure in Mongolia. In her spare time, of which she has very little, she spends her time with her husband, 3 children, 2 dogs, and a pony. You can follow her on social media at Timid Rider or timidrider.com.
Well, welcome, Heather Wallace. I'm so excited to talk to you about Girl Forward and all the things that you're doing. How are you?
I'm good, Debbie. Thank you so much for having me on Horsemanship Radio.
Hey, it's a first. I'm remiss. I'm glad to have you on finally. Yeah, you're an extraordinary blogger. I love that you have horses of your own, so you're not just yakking about them, and a photographer and all the creative side. Are you more of a visual person? You must be.
I'm a very visual person, and I learn better while watching others, and then kind of taking that into myself and trying to replicate it.
Yeah. And you do that very well. Not just the copying other people, but I think the amazing photographs and words that you put and the pictures that you put in our heads are really fun. I had fun reading Girl Forward, and I do want to jump into that. But I think this is fascinating. This journey that you took, this adventure that you took to Mongolia, and I thought we could just get right into that because I think when I first heard Gobi Desert Cup, I thought Mongolian Derby, and it's really different. I mean, this one is co-founded by different people. It's been around since 2017. It's pretty new.
Yeah. I think the Mongol Derby has such a long-standing reputation. I think the Gobi Desert Cup often gets confused, but it's a very different event. So it's very cool. It was started by in 2016 because one of the riders of the Mongol Derby was like, you know what? She started talking to one of the veterinarians there, and they were like, we can do something more endurance related. And they formed the Gobi Desert Cup together after meeting in Mongolia at the Mongol Derby. And so they took everything they loved about the Mongol Derby and a whole bunch of stuff they really wanted to improve and to showcase about Mongolia. And so they put the Gobi Desert Cup together, and the first race was in 2017.
Got you. Yeah, I didn't know the history of it, but so it's Nara Adia. Is that right?
Correct.
The veterinarian? Okay, he's the veterinarian that was based in Mongolia. And then you've got an FEI 3-star endurance rider, Camille Champagne from Australia, right?
Yes, she's French-Australian. She's based in Australia, and she is an FEI 3-star rider. And when she completed the Mongol Derby, she was just her journey through Mongolia totally touched her heart, and she was so inspired. And they ended up actually, Nara went to her and he asked her about putting something together, something different. And so it's 480 kilometers, which is about 300 miles over 6 days, and it's a proper endurance race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah.
From some of the descriptions, you endured a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't even riding.
Yeah. Well, in a Russian truck, or you were, but I love that there was a different take on this. It's actually a huge economic and social impact to the local people. Do you want to describe that a little bit?
Yeah, well, that's the goal. I mean, the whole goal of the event is to support the local nomads and their dwindling lifestyle. They've been living in the countryside, in the nomadic culture since, by the time of Genghis Khan. And unfortunately, a lot of them are having to move to the cities just in order to pay for schooling because of desertification in the Gobi Desert. So the whole role of the Gobi Desert Cup is to support the Mongolian Horse and Nomad Foundation, which employs about 50 Mongol nomads and supports them and their livestock and their families through this race. So it's really amazing because it's not just a race; it's a cultural experience, and it's something that gives back immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like 130 horses affected, something like that. I read somewhere.
Yes, last year was 130 horses that were trained, conditioned, and fed for the race. So they got extra feed, extra conditioning, something that they normally wouldn't have, extra training as well, so they can be a little bit more well-versed for our Western riders, because not everybody wants to get on a wild Mongolian horse and just take off into the distance. We didn't really think that was best for the horses or for the people involved. So we wanted to make sure it was quite safe. And so they go into training for months before and after. So it's not just for the 2 weeks of the event that these people are employed. They're employed for several months before, and it's quite amazing. It's the same people every year, and the same horses even.
It's such an interesting breed too. Things that I didn't know so much about how they handled the breed. That mostly there. Tell us the difference between feral and wild when it comes to the Mongolians.
Oh, that's a great question. I actually just did an article for Holistic Horse on that very thing. So basically, wild is a horse that's never been trained, touched, that lives completely free of human interference. Where the Mongolian horses are largely referred to as semi-feral, because while they live outside, they live unfenced, they are gentled to work, and they're usually broken around 1 or 2 years old. Only the males are ridden, The mares are kept separate and special, and but they're handled from a young age, and so the Mongolians will handle them in a way that still keeps them relatively feral. They don't have a lot of grooming. They only tack up on the left side, so they have the least amount of handling possible. But you would never believe it, because you see these children mount these horses and just they're incredibly quiet and kind, and they do tell you if you do something wrong. So this is something to keep in mind.
Yeah. Warning. I love the line that you had in the book about, just give me a horse that a child can ride. And you go like, oh, that's right. All the riders are children here. They're the light ones up there. But interesting, right? But with export being illegal, it's interesting that they might be the last ancient horse remaining on the planet. And I thought about that. I thought, well, that's true. Icelandics can come off Iceland. You can't go back onto Iceland. So it's a pure breed. But I don't know another breed that's illegal to export.
Potentially, I think the Morwari horse in India is another example of that. And the Przewalski's horse, of course, which is still highly endangered in Mongolia. You might only see a couple in the natural preserves. But yeah, the Mongolian horse is very unique, and it is considered pretty much the most ancient breed still in existence today.
Yeah.
And it's completely unchanged.
Yeah. I mean, it looks it too, doesn't it? I mean, just looking out on the steps and seeing the Mongolian horse, it's just gorgeous, but it does feel like you could be, Genghis Khan could come around the mountain anyway time, if there was a mountain, a rock.
Well, and that's what makes it such an amazing experience riding them, because you're never going to find another chance to ride a Mongolian horse unless you're in Mongolia.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you did. So one thing, too, about them was that the nomads have specific roles for the animals. You alluded to the fact that the only boys are ridden and the mares are revered and remain unridden. What's that? Is that some sort of mother issue, or what's going on with that?
Well, so actually, Buddhism is the primary religion in Mongolia, but there is, especially in the countryside, a very big shamanistic role. So I do think that it does have a lot to do with the mothers being revered. They're the breeders. They're the ones that hold the lines. And they do formulate this drink called arag, which is a fermented mare's milk. And it's part of most of their ceremonies. And so the mares are kept separate and honored.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, and that's true. And they probably don't want to lose that arag. So might be the only thing
no, they don't.
to celebrate with on Saturday night. But and the stallions are the pride of the herd and used for horse racing, which is interesting too. So exclusively, are there no geldings in the horse racing?
Generally, it's stallions. Mm-hmm. For an event like the Gobi Desert Cup, we actually do use geldings. So the nice thing is that horses that are not being used are having a job. So they're getting income where they normally would potentially not be getting income. But the stallions, it's really cool because they keep you can always tell a stallion, they keep their forelocks and manes very long. They don't cut them like they do a gelding. Geldings are always cropped, manes and forelocks.
Yeah. So, and you literally turn them loose or hobble them at night during the Desert Cup?
Yes. So during the day, they're on a traditional horse line, and at night, as the sun's setting, the nomads let them go. And if you have a runner, one that really likes to wander pretty far, they might hobble them to another horse, or sometimes they even tie two halters together. So the two horses are grazing together side by side. But for the most part, they'll wander at night and will even go up to about 10 kilometers, which is about 7 miles or so. Mm-hmm. And so each morning before dawn, the herders when you come out of your gur or your tent, you can see them ponying 3, 4, 5 horses from who knows where they'd wander to in the evening. And it's really quite amazing and then they just come back and they work, and it's really cool.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, it just is so close to nature there. So tell us about your experience. So now here is Yuz, who is mostly a Jersey girl, and ending up in Mongolia, saying that your favorite piece of equipment, even though you had, how many pounds of cameras and batteries and everything did you have to take?
I had quite a lot. I probably had about over $10,000 worth of equipment on me, and
dollars is more effective.
Some of it definitely got confiscated.
Oh, ouch. Yeah, that'll slow your trip down a little bit though.
Yeah.
But I love that
I was a pack mule.
You were, I guess that was your job. But we got to see it because of that. We got to live through you because of that. So we're really happy that you were willing to be a pack mule. But I love that your multifunction folding knife with the LED light was the thing that became most important to you. And you kept on you all the time.
I really did. I can't tell you. I was so worried that would be not given back because it was blended out so often. And whether it was to fix a fender or to open a wine bottle or to, use to go to the bathroom. I mean, I tell you, that thing was the most popular item I had on me. So I had a lot of friends because nobody else thought to bring one.
Really? No kidding. Yeah. I don't know that I've ever seen a folding knife with the LED light. I'm looking for this now. Is there a particular brand I should be looking for?
I found it on Amazon.
Oh,
so,
perfect.
if you just type that in, I think you could come up with a couple. Yeah, very useful though.
Yeah, apparently. I know. I thought a wine opener would be the most useful, but there you go. So, I mean, technology, I want to go through your phone and see all these videos that you took. I just pictured this tent and no electricity and how they're cooking. I have no idea, but your videos must have been incredible.
Yeah, I loved it. We gave some of our riders GoPros to use for the race, and I had one on me as well because GoPro was kind enough to sponsor us last year. And so that's a lot of fun. And then I had my iPhone. My trusty iPhone was actually more used probably than anything else the entire time I was there. So for every interview I did, it was so easy because I could just whip it out of my pocket and record the riders, and it wasn't really invasive. They were used to seeing me around and talking to me. So, and everyone's used to seeing iPhones. So it wasn't as intimidating, I think, for the riders to talk to me or the nomads because they were so used to seeing that equipment that it wasn't scary.
Yeah, that makes sense. As opposed to that, I don't know, foot-long camera that you had. That was amazing.
Yeah.
On the cover of your book, by the way, so people can see that. But I like this part too that you talked about just briefly about at base camp that you had the pleasure of watching herders demonstrate their horsemanship skills, and they were extremely calm, and there was just some unique aspects of that I'd love for you to talk about.
Yeah, I'm no horsemanship expert, Debbie, but it was really, really cool for me to see how their traditions haven't really changed at all. And we did have a couple of people who were really into horsemanship there. So it was nice to see, but basically what they would do is they'd build a portable round pen just temporarily out of sticks. Mm-hmm. And they would cull the horse that they wanted using this it must have been 15 feet long pole, which I don't know the name in Mongolian, with a lasso around it. And they would cull the horse they wanted to work with. And then it was all done bridleless, saddleless. They would get this horse on its knees, usually taking about 3 men. And then one of the herders would get on that horse, tell everybody to let go, because they really believe in connecting with that horse immediately. And off they would go, galloping into the distance until the horse and rider became connected and won. And then he'd come back, and that was the beginning. I mean, that was the first no bridle, no saddle, nothing, just off into the distance and coming back united. Wow. It was really, really just amazing. It was so different than what we do now, but and it took a little. It's just so different, and It was really, really cool.
Yeah,
I can't explain. Hopefully you guys will all get to see it one day.
You did explain in the book. I thought it was really. I mean, you talked about confidence and connection, and that you could tell if there was a little bit of a lack of confidence that would bring out the fear really in a horse. That prey behavior says, "Wow, if something's wrong with you, something must be wrong with me now." So, I love that you said that the nomads just made it look effortless, as if it was natural. Isn't it? It is natural.
They were basically like centaurs. I mean, you could tell that these people had grown up on horses. They had it was almost a jubilation, a feeling of just complete part of their breathing and happiness that they exuded when they rode these horses. And you could tell when they would give you a special horse, like the riders would get horses chosen for them based on their, the different horses and whether they were heavyweight riders or they were a little bit more timid or in the general population. And the nomads would tell the people a little bit about their horses. And there is a language difference, but some things are just universal. And through a couple of words or charades, they had this conversation. And it was amazing to see these two cultures united just by the love of these horses. Mm-hmm. And it was really inspiring.
Yeah, I bet. Tell us about you and Spanky.
I love Spanky. I not so secretly hope that he's gifted to me this year and I get to ride him again. But yeah, so I really did get a little bit jealous watching the riders. And, I'm a timid rider. I'm very careful. So going into this, I assumed these Mongolian horses would be completely wild. Mm-hmm. And I was very pleasantly surprised. And I got to see how much fun everyone was having. So at the end, when we were discussing having an officials race, I was all in. And when I did go up to one of our herders and ask him to give me a very, very kind horse, that one that they would give their children to, and he started laughing. And I realized what you had said. I realized that, oh my gosh, the children are the races or the jockeys.
Yeah.
But I got on him and I immediately started panicking. Like he did nothing. He was a perfect angel. It was me just kind of trying to find my calm and my connection. And once we started moving, it just clicked. Clicked. And I found that when we turned around to start the race, and Camille Champagne, who hadn't been on a horse since she'd had her baby, before she got pregnant. No, she was only 3 weeks from having a baby by that point. She's like, oh, that's okay. We'll start very slow. We'll just trot first and we'll end up galloping. Well, my horse took stuff into this beautiful, nice lope. I'm like, this is great. I'll stick with this lope all day long. And then Camille was like, oh, it's on. And she just takes off at full gallop. So next thing I know, I'm galloping across the Gobi Desert and thinking, okay, just hold on, just breathe. And he was so good though, because when I just breathed and I relaxed, I found that when I got tired, he slowed and I just took some deep breaths. And so I can't say I did anything with my legs, my hands. It was just my body and kind of how I felt. And he responded. And I tell you, I fell in love with that pony, that horse. Sorry. I want to.
Yeah. Well, they're little.
He was small, but horse. Yeah.
But he's good looking. He was really good looking. There's a nice photo of you two in the book that I thought.
Yeah. My assistant photographer kept trying to sneak photos of me.
Oh yeah, that's true. I hadn't thought about that. That's true. I love how you tell stories around the base camp too. You have a base camp, I guess, and that's the story of the day. And I love how you said this wasn't Lord of the Flies or Survival of the Fittest. It was utopia.
It's so hard when you're going into something like this, especially for me. I'd never been camping. I'd never been out in the middle of nowhere with strangers, and it could have gone really, really wrong, but it didn't. Somehow it really, my instincts were correct and it really came together. And, of course there were some people that just didn't get along or didn't, but we were all kind of brought together. And so it was nice to see that it wasn't, everyone was supporting everybody. There was no talking behind other people's backs. There was, everyone united from different disciplines, different parts of the world. And it was just something that really reminded me of what it should be like in the world.
Yeah.
And it was
slow down.
Blessing.
Yeah, that is a blessing. And thank you for sharing it. Thank you for going out there and sharing it. I think what's fun about the book too is I think you're very relatable. I think all of us see parts of us in you and you're experiencing it. So you kind of feel like you're part of it. I mean, we feel like, we all kind of smell like the barn a little bit and, have hay stuck out of our pockets and stuff when we go home. And, all of that is you in the kind of US based look or mostly global look. But going there, all of those inhibitions just didn't matter. Just all those different things fell away and that you were just able to live in the moment.
Well, that is probably the best compliment you could give me because, when I write from my own experience, but I write to share my story in the hopes that other people will be entertained and also maybe learn and maybe try to do something themselves that maybe they didn't think they could normally do. So to say that is really, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no. Well, thank you for writing the book and sharing all of that. And, people can find it. I mean, you've got, what was it, under the distinction of a hot new release on Amazon. It's a bestseller in 3 categories. You won an award for the Equus Film Festival, which is big. And so people will want to pick up some of the other stuff that you've read, and they should read your blog. The book Confessions of a Timid Writer came from the blog, The Timid Writer, right?
That's correct. Yeah. The Confessions of a Timid Writer was really the first book that it was very difficult for me to share. It was very easy to write, but it was very difficult for me to share. It was probably the most personal thing I've ever written. And it came from my blog, The Timid Writer, which, is all about confidence and returning to writing as an adult in my experience. And so, but it really gave me, it almost gave me paved the way for me to go and do this and go to Mongolia, because I realized that I'd always wanted to write a book and I was always scared to do it. And doing it, I was like, well, what else can be scarier than this? Right?
That's true. I don't know.
It's such a personal thing, right? So,
yeah.
And I'm lucky. Yeah. I have to be honest and say I am lucky that my husband was willing to take on our 3 children for 2.5 weeks, so I could go off to a place that is in the middle of nowhere, really, and with not a lot of electricity or cell service. And I can honestly say I wouldn't have been able to do it unless I knew they were all well taken care of at home and supporting me.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. Oh, come on. You didn't think about him a minute, did you?
I did.
Oh, I'm sure.
I did. I have a funny, my oldest, who was 9 at the time, she made me, I couldn't talk to them for 3 days, and I finally got a signal. So I called them, and she gets on the phone. She goes, put on your assistant. I need to talk to your assistant. I'm like, okay. I maybe only had 2 minutes. And so I put her on the phone with Dr. Julie Kemp, who was my assistant photographer. And she's also a veterinarian. And she's from Australia. And my daughter just gets on the phone and she goes, tell me the truth. Is my mom okay?
Oh.
She didn't believe I could camp. She didn't believe I had it in me.
Well, I think it's pretty amazing that you never camped. That means you've never found a hole somewhere or pulled up a rock or pulled up a bush and all those things that we take for granted that you've got to do before you go to Mongolia, right?
Right. Well, I tell you, the biggest problem I had, it wasn't going to the bathroom. It was figuring out that darn camp shower.
Oh.
I could not figure it out. So the good news is I brought some baby wipes with me, and I used that a lot.
Perfect. I love camping up in the mountaintops, and we go with girlfriends. And I tell you, every year we're like, okay, what kind of wipes did you find this year? Lavender or what? It's the biggest thing we worry about is, are we going to get really good wipes this year? So yeah, good for you.
Well, I'll give you a hint. If you can find eucalyptus, they also will repel insects. So that's helpful for you.
No mosquito bites on the bum. That's a great idea.
Exactly. That's my gift to you, Debbie.
Thank you. You're so sweet. You really are. You really are. Heather Wallace, it was really fun to have you on Horsemanship Radio. I hope you'll come back again. You don't even have to go to Mongolia again to come back on. There's lots of good stuff you've got going on in your life I love to hear about. And people should go find the Gobi Desert Cup on YouTube and watch all the craziness out there and any place else. Do you have any other websites, or tell us your Facebook page and how to find you?
Yeah, absolutely. My Facebook page is at Timid Writer. It's TIMIDRIDER. And the Gobi Desert Cup actually has a Facebook page. I believe it's the Gobi Desert Cup. So if not, it's at Gobi Desert Cup on Facebook. And that's where everyone could follow along at this year's event, because I do post updates and interviews as we go through Mongolia.
Great. Okay.
So
and you'll go back. It sounds like you might go back even in a new status.
Yes, that's right. Well, so this year we're actually filming a documentary. So I'm going to be a producer on that. And I do have it in my head that I think I need to ride this thing myself and really challenge myself, because I can't let all the riders have all the fun, can I?
That's right. We're cheering you on. Us timid riders and us U.S.-based, non-campers, we're cheering you on.
Thank you, Debbie. I so appreciate you having me on and talking to me a little bit about my trip and my book.
Yes, and your book. Go forward. Cavallo horse and rider, Carol and Greg Giles, too, have been longtime supporters of the Horsemanship Radio, and we thought, you know what better way to show how their support goes than through the people who buy their boots. So we have this from Brenna Eldridge on a Facebook post. I could not be happier with my decision to transition my horse to barefoot and choosing Cavallo for his hoof protection. I always thought my horse just had bad feet and that he would always be lame barefoot until I realized that I was enabling that dependency. By allowing his feet to adapt back to the way that they were naturally intended, his feet have become strong and he now seems perfectly comfortable barefoot. With the added weight of a rider on rough terrain, I invested in my first pair of Cavallo boots. I went with the Trek boots, and they fit him perfectly. I was able to do anything that I could do in metal shoes, and I have no longer stress over him losing a metal shoe and damaging his hoof when removed. The Cavallo boots have provided him greater shock absorbencies when riding on hard ground, and so far, whether it be on trails or in the arena, he seems extremely comfortable in his boots. I do a variety of riding, including trails, gaming, and drill, and I'm excited to get into the gaming season to put truly those boots to test. I believe that in horsemanship, you have to pick methods that make the most sense to you. And for me, that is the naturality of barefoot and the protection of the Cavallo boots. Brenna.
The advanced course students at the Monty Roberts International Learning Center have earned their way to the advanced course of horsemanship at the center. The course offers students the opportunity to extend their knowledge to training both unstarted and untouched horses, and it's the next step on the pathway toward becoming a certified instructor in the Monty Roberts concepts. I was able to sit down with them recently to hear what brought them to Solvang in California, but from all over the world.
Well, welcome. I've got Denise Heinlein here and a class full of advanced course students, which is always really fun to come to Solvang and see people from all over the world. It's always seems to be pretty international, this class. Plus, it's fun to see the advanced levels that are happening around the world, people who are dedicated to teaching other people to be better with their horses. So we're real excited. I've got Denise Heinlein to say hello.
Hello, Debbie.
How are you? How's this class going?
It's fun. Like, as you said already, we have a lot of horses in with very interesting characters. And we are partnering up at the moment with Oakdale Rescue and All About Equine Rescue. Great. So we took some horses in from them to work and try to get them to the position where they will be better adoptable. So, throughout our 3 weeks, we are training them to accept the first saddle, long lining. We wash them. We try to pick up their feet and get them ready for the farrier. So everything what they would need in their future life, we go through here in that 3 weeks with all the students from around the world.
So these are not well-trained horses. Tell me what their baseline is. Do they come in pretty much untouched?
We have some untouched horses. Yes, we have 3 Mustangs which never had a halter on, or they don't have any experience with people, which is super interesting. So Toby and Martina, they are 2 Mustangs which are showing us a lot of, or teaching actually the students a lot of horse behavior. So, which is quite interesting. And then we have all the starters here who came in already a halter leadable, and we could approach them, but they were quite shy. So they are all second generation Mustangs, which used to come from the Dreamcatcher Sanctuary. So they have had, like in their past, they've been living a untouched life. So we haven't gentled them, but they came down here, just little hands-on experience.
A little hands-on experience. So they were loaded on a trailer. There's a lot of probably negative experience with handling and some of these rescues too, right? I mean, it's not like they're that unskeptical of people.
Well, you never know, especially with the Mustangs, since they are going through the branding and like to go through all of those shoots in the in the past handling. I mean, you never know what they go through in these situations. I know that up at All About Equine and Oakdale Rescue, they take really good care about their horses. So everything what has been happened to the horses when they came to the rescue, we don't know. You know, some of the horses, they do seem to have a few issues, but you never know what kind of caused that, you know, where did they get scared in their way to us.
Could have been an injury, could have been a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. And since it is so that some horses also, you know, when they've lived their life, and all of these horses we have in right now, they're older. So when they live their life as a free roaming horse, and then suddenly we are coming and we ask them to accept our guidance, you know, they're like, hey, wait a minute, I've been really well off there by myself. So sometimes it's just that as well, you know, to convince them step by step that we mean well. And all of them love us so far that we can go in, brush them and pick up the feet. And they're friendly now with all of the students, and they all have a project horse throughout the 3 weeks. So everybody probably is ready to take them home if they could. Yes. But yeah, it's an ocean in between for most of us. That's why they hopefully find a home here in America. And
so they are adoptable.
They are adoptable. Okay. Yes.
And All About Equine and Oakdale can give information about that. We can put those in the show notes.
Yes, you find some of their images on our Facebook page as well. So if you want to come and have a look at Monty Roberts International Learning Center on Facebook, there are some nice photos of the horses. But then you visit the website of the rescue centers, they're going to have all the informations up there too.
Okay. Well, you've got an intern with you who has been through this process before, has been sitting in the seats that your students are sitting in right now. Would you like to introduce yourself, Manjeev?
Hello, Debbie. This is Manjeev, and I am an intern here working on the horses. It was a bridge between the student and instructor. So I'm going through that procedure, going from one phase to another phase, and it's quite interesting to know what happens on which side of the corridor.
Tell us a few of the names of the horses that they've been working with this week. You all have been.
Yes, we have a very interesting teachers with us, as we say. They're not horses for us because they're teaching us all the time. Yes. Yeah. So we got starts from Uno, is a very beautiful looking quarter horse. Then we have Tegan, which is Mustang. Tay is again a Mustang. Like most of them are Mustang. It's only, I think, probably one we have as a quarter horse. And then we have Gypsy, Fancy. They are very beautiful looking and now a very good character because we've been working on them. And as you say, like all the students are working with them and they shape them very well. We understand very well. I think they're looking for the good home.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so people can go look. If you can understand Manjeev as well as I just did sitting next to him, then you can go to those rescues and maybe ask about those. Definitely. They'll carry those names over to the rescues?
Yeah, we took the names on, so they are, that's their names.
That was their names. Yeah. Very good. Okay. I will pass this around, and if you'll introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you got into horses. And then we'll go another round with another question.
So I'm Thibaut. I'm from France. I really got into horses and into education of horses when I was about 20. I was working in Greece as a wrangler.
Greece?
Yeah. And till the point that I had the opportunity to well, not break, but start a horse because
very good.
I didn't really like how they did it there. And so it couldn't be worse if I did it. So I asked if I could do it. And I realized that I had a lot to learn. So then when I went back to France, I met one of the instructor in a fair, and I talked to him a little bit, and I had a chance to work for him. So that's how I took the introductory exam with him and want to go further now. So here I am.
What was the instructor's name? Who is it?
Adrien Mabi.
Perfect. Good. He's, I think, maybe he's one of two French-speaking instructors. So we need not only more French instructors, we need more boys. So it's wonderful that you're here a part of this, and I hope you hang in there with us too. Good. What are your plans going into the future?
That's a bit blurry. I want to keep traveling a lot to discover how they do other places, and then in a few years I might want to sell. I don't really know yet. I have so much to learn still. If I can, like my plan right now is to become an instructor, so I have to get a lot of more experience to be able to.
Do you mind if I ask how old you are?
I'm 26.
Perfect. That's awesome. You've got your whole life ahead of you to do these things too, and you're learning from great professors. That's great. And that's the horses.
Yeah.
All right. And please introduce yourself.
My name is Luan. I'm from Germany. I got into horses, I think it's a very average story. I was a little girl. I fell in love with horses. And when I was 12 years old, I managed to convince my parents to get me a little pony. She was very lovely, or she is very lovely. I still have her.
Oh, good.
Then I went on a break with the horses and the horseback riding. And now I'm back and I want to do it professionally.
Great. Professionally. And does that mean showing, competitions? What?
No,
training
the horses with the Monty Roberts concepts.
Excellent. And what's the disciplines that you think you'll get through your barn?
I'm not sure yet. Mm-hmm. First of all, I want to continue to learn. Mm-hmm. I'm coming from the Western riding area, but I think we have to be open about the discipline. And I want to learn about dressage riding as well. Mm-hmm. And then when I've learned enough, I will make my decision where I really want to make a change.
Fantastic. What part of Germany are you from?
From the very south, near
Stuttgart. South. Beautiful area.
It is. Yeah. Very nice. Yes.
And so you do some Western riding. Have you been able to ride here? Were you out here in the West?
We actually went horseback riding 2 times near Santa Barbara. It was the Circle Bar B? Yes. Yeah. We went for a 1.5 hour ride, and then they invited us back for a 4-hour ride. And it was very beautiful. The landscape is so stunning.
The flowers are beautiful.
Yes.
We finally got some rain here in California. Good. I'm glad you got the opportunity to do that too. Are our saddles pretty much like the saddles that you're using in Germany too, the Western?
They are, but my saddle was a bit uncomfortable, to be honest.
Oh, I don't doubt it, actually. Yeah. They probably don't put a lot of money in their saddles out there. I hope your horse wasn't uncomfortable anyway.
No, it was fine.
Good.
It was fine.
Good.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Franziska. I'm 25 years old and from Germany as well. Mm-hmm. And I started riding when I was 2 years old, and I got my first horse when I was 8 or 9 years old. And the owner of the horse always hit the horses, and it was horrible. And she wanted to teach me to hit the horse as well. So I wanted to find a better way. I didn't want to hit the horse. And over the last years, I always had some problem horses or horses that have had some bad experiences. Yeah. So I had this one horse, and I took him to the introductory course with Denise. And it was amazing to see him changing his behavior, and was amazing. And so I decided to become an instructor, and hope this is possible, and I will achieve this. Yeah, you will see.
Do you want to take it back to Germany then? Is that what your end goal is, to train?
Yeah, I would love to train those difficult horses, because it's so beautiful to see them getting better and to solve the problems. And it's more better than just starting horses. I mean, it's always good to be around horses, but it's way better to just change horses that had never the chance to get a good training or to be understood. This is good. Yeah.
Yeah. In fairness to the horses.
Yeah.
So this course is right up your alley then, working with these horses that
it's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can learn a lot, and it's perfect.
Do you see a lot of these untouched horses in Europe where you are?
No, never.
No, never.
I think we have some wild horses in Germany as well, but I never saw any wild horse. So I never touched an untouched horse. This is the first time here. It's a great feeling. Yeah, it's good.
And were you prepared for it, or did it still sort of give you hair on the back of the neck, goes up and chills? And
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
it's a great moment. It's, I think you will never forget this moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Okay.
Hi, I'm Mary. I'm French, but I live in Argentina, and my background with horses started like the one of the girls with a love story around 6 years old. and all. And then it really became like a life goal for me when I arrived in Argentina 4 years ago, and I saw things that were managed there. I mean, I was working as a wrangler, and the horse was more a mean of, I mean, it was for go from point A to point B with the cows, with all the animals in the ranch. But then came the time that they have to break the new horses,
yes.
which actually sometimes are 9 or 10 years old and never saw a man before, because it's Patagonia, Argentina, acres and acres, and they just very big territory. And so I saw that and I got like really scared, and I was like, there is no way I do that. Like, this actually scares me, you know? I was more scared than actually, because I was living with those guys and I respect what they do also, but it was really scary, you know? I said, there is no way I kill myself to do that.
So you had never seen that tradition of breaking horses like from a pole or?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I was not really I was more into jumping in competition as a child, and I never saw a horse started by anyone. And so my first confrontation was like this, and I was like, okay, no, there must be another way. There is no way, there's just this one. So I did my research and I found Monty on a very bad video on YouTube.
Really?
But actually the content was so good, so I said, okay, I'll go for this. And that's it. And Monty Roberts' name gave me my chance in this field, and actually some credibility, because in Argentina it's so hard to be a woman and to get attention from the men that are in the business in the horses. So it gave me the method and the knowledge and the credibility, which is very important.
That is very important. So one of the concepts I noticed in Brazil, I haven't been to Argentina, but one of the concepts we noticed was that it were mostly men in the industry down there, in the horse industry, and the women are not so much allowed. It's looked down upon.
Yeah, it's changing a little bit in Argentina. I mean, around Buenos Aires, for example, where it's more civilized and we are getting there. But me, I was working in Patagonia, which is still a world of men. I mean, the first day I started at the ranch, the guy told me, "Oh, you are the new girl from the kitchen," and I was like, "I'm just coming to work with you guys," and they were just like, okay, no way a girl actually is going to work with us.
What I loved about the changes going on in Brazil too, and you can confirm if this is happening in Argentina, is that using these concepts, you don't need to be, the size of Manjiv over here.
Yeah.
You can actually be half that size.
Of course.
And because you're not taking on the horse, right? You're not wrestling with the horse. You're working with its nature.
And this is what I actually surprised them more. Like, I remember also, because we work with Denise in Argentina in the farm I am working in, and I was telling them, oh yeah, there is this German girl who is coming to show you guys how to do it. And they were all like, what? But a woman, they have no strength. There is no way they can actually break a horse. And I was like, they're not going to break it. They're just going to start it.
Yay. I love that. We've been running that campaign, #StartingNotBreaking. Yeah. And we're not the only ones. We might be the biggest voice out there, but we're not the only ones saying this. And I hope that you'll, continue to beat that drum down in Argentina as well. I think it's a huge horse industry down there. And it's, polo alone, right? It's a huge industry down there. Yeah. But there is a lot of tradition in the muscle memories of those hands down there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my next question is really, how do you think you'll change that tradition? We're still swimming upstream. I know that Dad, sort of didn't really mean to, but kind of created a breakout session in '89 when he was invited to demonstrate these things publicly. He had never taken them publicly. And it's been a hard uphill battle, right? It's not the easiest thing to change a 6,000-year-old tradition. I can't think there are too many of those out there, that kind of tradition. What do you do to plan to defend the concepts if you think they're better?
I think, first of all, you have to prove the others that it's better. It's as efficient or even more efficient, but it's better for the horse than the old ways. And but you have to prove it first.
How do you
show them? You have to show them.
Demonstrate it.
You can't just show off and do your thing and I'm the best. You have to keep trying, I guess, until it works. And they say, okay, maybe you might be not wrong, and then maybe they will take a look at you and they might start consider you. And then the ultimate how I see things, once I'm out there and I'm able to, on any horse, to do whatever I want to make that horse live with other humans in a better way. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to teach others how to do it too. But first we need to be able to. People need to trust me before I can do it. Mm-hmm. So
good. Well, we're hoping we're building credibility.
Yeah, credibility.
into the instructors, so that you all don't have to work so hard at it. But
then through teaching.
Through teaching, very good.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, I think on one hand side, it's very important to be successful. So to work with difficult horses and show the people that through those methods, you can be successful with those horses. Mm-hmm. Maybe even in competing, actually winning prizes with those methods, taking people by the hand, like on Instagram or on campaign, showing them, okay, I have this difficult horse, and in the end, I'm very successful with this horse. Mm-hmm. And on the other hand side, I believe it's very important to focus on the youth. Youth, is it the right word? Youth, sorry. Mm-hmm. Because the kids, they grow up in those barns, in the stables, and they look at the adults and they learn from them the behavior, and they think that's the right way. And then after a while, they just behave in the same way. And it takes a lot for those kids, when they grow up, to change their behavior, to change their muscle memory. But when we actually start there, when they are young, we can kind of push them in the right way, kind of teach them how to behave around horses, that the horses are fine.
I think the youth actually want that, don't you? Do you remember back when you were little, thinking when your instructor was telling you hit them harder?
Yes.
I don't think the youth really wants to do that. That's at least what I found.
I most recently met a girl, and she grew up, and she was told to hit her horse very badly, and she teared up that moment she told me that story, that she had to hit her own horse.
All these years later.
Yes, all these years later. And she wants to change too. Yeah. She wants to learn about the concepts too. And, well, I hope we can make a change.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you found her.
I always see and hear people talking about horses, for example, in competitions. I'm also a dressage rider and I compete my horses. Mm-hmm. And there are many people who just sell their horses when their problems arise. So I think it would be a good way to show them, when you have a difficult horse, you can train this horse to solve the problem. And you can also go on competitions, do whatever you want, because the horse also want it, and you don't have to hit or to force your horse to do what you want them to do. And I think this area, this competition area, maybe to just, show, as Thibaut said, you have to prove yourself, and to have a good example, to let the others see.
Yeah, who's a good example, do you think, out there right now competing at a high level? Is it like Charlotte Dujardin, or who do you look up to?
Well, in Germany, for example, there's Ingrid Klimke. Yes. She's competing on the highest level in dressage, jumping, and I think she's really fair to the horses, as we can see. Well, you never see everything, but I think she's really fair to the horse. And I think it's getting better. There's a few people who are really fair and good to their horses and competing in on a high level. But it's getting just slowly better, and it have to be improved.
Do you think, since most of you have been at this for a while with horses, even though you're young, you've been with horses for a long time, do you think that trainers are becoming more open about their techniques, even at the high level, because this is sort of, giving away their secrets a little bit?
Yeah, I think one point is also the social media time now, because when someone I don't know, post a picture of a horse ridden with, or this is just a bad moment, for example, and you show this bad moment, there are so many people who talk bad about it. And I think this is also a reason why people become better and that they want to just behave fair.
Okay. But being fair to the horses is the important point, right? Yeah. Yeah.
And so transparent, I like that. And people, you cannot, once it gets out there, you can't put a stop to it, and therefore you have to be more careful.
You should be. Yeah.
So the reactions are, heavy when you have, when you show a bad picture and no one wants this. So.
Yes. I haven't heard a lot about the roker for a while, but that was one of those things that everybody was trying to pick on, with overzealous sometimes, I think, but that you can't really get away with a lot of that anymore with the media as it is, not just social media. It's everybody has a camera, everybody, puts it out there. Yeah.
Yeah, especially in competition, so everyone can see how you ride your horse and can take a picture and upload it on the internet. So.
What do you think about the judges? Do you think the judges are as important a part of that component of change?
Yeah, definitely. And I think they have to change a lot, especially in dressage competitions. There are many people who are talking not kind of bad about the judges after, for example, someone is riding and you could saw this one riding outside the arena and he was not fair to his horse, and then he's competing and he gets a good grade. And this is not really fair at the moment. And I think they have to be more aware of everything what happens around the competitions. And they have to just stand up and say a word. And don't be afraid of the reactions, maybe. Yeah, I think it's a hard business. It's difficult to change everything, but maybe in little steps it's possible. Yeah. You have to try.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Well, you'll probably be a part of that, so
hopefully.
Glad to hear it. All right, Mary.
Yeah, I think exactly as they say, we have to be good, and I think this course actually helped us a lot. And we are ready now to get home and work, so we can be as good as we need to convince the other people. For the challenge of Argentina and South America, I think we need to be a team with the others. Denis started this year. There is Melanie Suillaga. Yes. There is Miguel Lupiano in Brazil. So there are a lot of people there already that want to make a change there and can, because there is knowledge of horses and people wanting, but you also need to know the place, you need to know the people there, you need to know the right influencer. So through the ones you want to put your method in and to try to convince the whole country by them. So it's nice because Melanie and I, we really know the place and we have Denise as the big knowledge there. So, more the time goes on and more we become strengths and we will be able to achieve this goal, I think. Yeah.
That's very hopeful.
Yeah.
Thank you all for being a part of this today and being a part of the future.
Whisper the language of the herd. Listen, you don't have to say a word.
It's time for Jamie Jennings to fetch an email from Monty Roberts' inbox and share a morsel of Monty's wisdom in a little segment we like to call Ask Monty.
Leave this world a better place than mine. The magic in the language of the herd.
Dear Monty, since I began to ride over 60 years ago, I have almost constantly been encouraged to carry a whip. In some cases, horses that were always whipped don't tend to respect the rider unless he carries it. I was taught to use it too, and it can be very effective in getting what I want from the horse. I never really liked to use a whip, or crop as we call it, and around age 17 I rode a horse who had been spoiled. Once, and there was no trainers about, I commenced riding using the crop only when the horse refused to obey my signals, otherwise using natural aids only. At the end of the hour, I rode with no further use of the crop, and indeed rarely ever used it or carried it again. For many years now, I always ride every horse without carrying a crop, and almost always have no need to ask for one. I am most definitely of the opinion that any horse trained without punishment will never need punishment. Many riding schools in Britain insist that riders carry a crop. I rode one thoroughbred horse who had been sold cheaply to the riding school because he was dangerous and bucking people off. I didn't carry a crop, and although he bucked initially, he didn't throw me, and after a few rides, he stopped bucking. He was a marvelous ride. The week before I first rode him, I watched him dispatch one of our trainers. When he napped, she hit him, and she landed about 10 feet from where the horse was standing. All I thought was, don't carry a stick on Malone. I do believe that any use of whips, sticks, or crops is unnecessary and counterproductive. I equally firmly believe that if they were not used, they would never be needed. Do you agree? Monty's answer. Thank you for sending me the story of your journey to take violence out of your enjoyment of riding horses. Your honesty is refreshing, and I am glad you shared your inner dialogue about respect for the trainers versus respect for the horses. My belief is that the use of pain is always counterproductive and never productive. One can disagree with that notion, but that is where I stand. And as the world turns, you are seeing more and more success coming from trainers who produce less and less pain in the training process.
For more of these insights into good horsemanship, go to www.montyroberts.com and click on the orange banner that says Get Free Horse Tips.
Hi, I'm Monty Roberts, and I'm dedicated to training horses without pain. You can learn to do it too on my Equus Online University. Western, English, the beginner, or the advanced rider, it doesn't matter. You can connect with other students online too, on our forum, and there's a new lesson every week. It's a lifetime of learning for you on my Equus Online University at montyroberts.com.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
Where in the world is Monty Roberts?
Monty is looking forward to meeting some new friends, two-legged and four-legged, in September, starting on the 28th at the Monty Roberts Tour at Scottish National Equestrian Centre in Oak Ridge. And then he travels down to Hadlow on October 12th. He'll be at the Hadlow College. And then October 18th, he'll continue his tour at Hartpury College in Hartpury. And then October 20th, he'll be at Myerscough College in Billsboro.
And if you were not able to commit all of that to memory because you were busy driving your car, cleaning your stall, or washing dishes, you can find all of that and a whole lot more at montyroberts.com. Now, if somebody wants to go over to montyroberts.com and look at the calendar, but they're also going, I really need to check out the university and look at those videos, can they get to Monty Roberts University from montyroberts.com?
You know what? We have this beautiful new website, and it's very simple. Yes, I think that's exactly right. We have just a very few tabs at the top. Thanks for asking for that, because there's about 3 things that are most often clicked on our montyroberts.com, and about is one of them, because I guess people get this like Monty Roberts, who is that guy? And, about it seems to land, and everybody else says, I just want to go see him. Where's the calendar?
Yeah, so, exactly.
So the calendar is right there too. And then, yes, there is a online university tab. And that's what you'd be looking for to say, like, okay, what does he teach? And that's our real proud-making product that we think is, the best. It's set out really just because I wanted to quantify all the work my dad did, and I think there were things that he did in his muscles that he didn't even know he did when he was training a horse. He just gets into the zone. You know how masters do. Mm-hmm. They move the right way, they time it the right way, and that's what they've done their whole life. That's why they're masters. But they don't think about it. They're strategizing for the horse, but they don't think about their muscle memory. And how do we learn? We want that muscle memory. We want that timing. So we began to film, and fortunately, he's fairly eloquent too about explaining what he's doing with the horse. So we get both sides of that equation. We see when he reaches his hand in, or when he doesn't, or how slowly he does. But we also get to hear what I think is like an inner dialogue with the horse. A lot of times, I love it when he says, "But Mr. Roberts, I'm really nervous about you bringing that plastic bag up to me," And
yes,
he has dialogue in some of these with the horses, and it's good because
it's almost like film noir. The horses talking.
That's cute, Jen. It is because then you start to notice things like that left ear going toward that trainer that's working on the side that we most often work with, which is the left, and you begin to notice the eye, and you begin to notice the muscles, and all of those are indicators from the horse to us. So it's a visual medium, training horses really is. It's really hard to do it by the book. Some people are great, but, I think video really tells the story, don't you?
Yeah, it's so very useful, having gone in there and watched lots and lots of videos. And once you get on over to the university, you can search. If you have a particular topic that you're curious about or want help with, you can search over there. And there's how many videos up there now? You always know this right off the top of your head.
Oh my gosh, about 5 to 75 right now. Let's round it up.
There you go. So, like I said, MontyRoberts.com. You can also call the kind folks at Flag is Up Farms, 805-688-6288. And if you happen to be in California visiting, Flag is Up Farms is open to the public. You can go there and visit and see the beautiful facility.
Thank you. Yes, it is.
So you can just give them a holler. And for details about today's show, go to horsemanshipradio.com, where you'll find links, photos, and more information about today's guests. And we love your feedback. It helps us stay on track, make the show better, find interesting topics and guests. You can follow Monty on Facebook by typing in the top search Monty Roberts. Go over there and like and follow the one with the little blue check marks. It's the official one. Monty Roberts is also on Twitter. For those of you who like to live your life in short bursts, it's Monty_Roberts, and the same on Instagram.
Beautiful Instagram, Monty_Roberts. Yeah, I love that one.
Get the app for your iPhone or your Android. Don't miss any episodes. And for the less tech-savvy folks in your life, gently take the phone from them, download the app, and then show them how to use it. They'll thank you later. Maybe they'll buy you a pint.
Hey, there you go. You really are on vacation brain.
I am.
That's great. Many thanks to our sponsors, too, who make this all happen for us. That's Omega Fields, and that's Cavallo Horse and Rider, and MontyRobertsUniversity.com. Be sure to visit all the other great shows, too, like I do, on the Horse Radio Network at www.horseradionetwork.com. And until next time, get out there and have many happy horse hours.